Hi there, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-Step System to Pass the TOEFL IBT. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can get the highest possible score on the integrated writing practice test. And I'm going to take a look at a reading passage along with a lecture. We'll go over that together. And then I'm going to look at a sample essay that responded to the assignment. I will correct it, score it, and give you ideas on where the writer is and why. And hopefully you'll get some good tips on how you can improve your writing for the integrated writing task. All right, first of all, this is a practice test I posted at my online TOEFL course, and I consider this one pretty easy. The reading passage is pretty basic, not very long. So, are you getting a good night's sleep? Sleep is a naturally recurring state characterized by reduced or absent consciousness, relatively suspended sensory activity, and inactivity of nearly all voluntary muscles. It is distinguished from quiet wakefulness by a decreased ability to react to stimuli, and is more easily reversible than being in hibernation or a coma. Sleep is a heightened anabolic state, accentuating the growth and rejuvenation of the immune, nervous, skeletal, and muscular systems. It is observed in all mammals, all birds, and many reptiles, amphibians, and fish. Now, so far, there's not really that much important information here, and that's part of your job as a reader, is to try to separate the most important points from the least important points. Now, in the next paragraph, it says, if you're having trouble sleeping, pick up something at the pharmacy in your neighborhood. You don't need to see a healthcare professional. After all, over-the-counter medicines are safer than prescription sleep aids. Now, what you're trying to do here is to identify some of the points, and this is really our first point in the reading passage. And then what I recommend for you is on a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle of the paper, and on the left hand, under the reading passage, start putting down these points. Now, here's our second point. It says here, sometimes having a little alcohol or wine with your sleep aid will help you to go to sleep faster. But make sure you drink the alcoholic beverage in very modest amounts. That's our second point in the reading, so you should jot down some key points from that. And then finally, here's our third point. The last thing you should consider is that you should only use prescription sleep aids as a last resort. Many prescription sleep aids are not safe and are addictive or cause dependency. There are many cases in which patients were prescribed sleep aids and became addicted to them. That's our third point. So you should also write that down on a sheet of paper in the left column, just briefly. You don't have to write all the sentence, but just the main ideas there. Now the question is this. You'll see this after the lecture is over, but it's how does the information in the lecture disagree with the points made in the reading passage? Now, this is the key. If you have these key points from the reading written down, guess what? It's going to be much easier for you to pay attention to the listening points that we're going to pay attention to right now. It says, everyone wants to have a good night's sleep. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, you're likely to just try just about anything. However, there are 3 specific points mentioned in the reading passage that represent very bad advice for those trying to find solutions to eliminate their insomnia. So now we simply need to jot down what the 3 points are in the lecture and put those in the right-hand column so you can see how the point in the lecture is different from the first point in the reading. So point number 1 says, first of all, it's important to discuss all of your health conditions with your healthcare professional, especially if you've been experiencing symptoms of insomnia for more than a month. Over-the-counter sleep aids may be appropriate, but it's smart to discuss any treatment options with your healthcare professional before you self-medicate. Common OTC relievers, which you may not need, common OTC medications used as sleep aids may contain ingredients such as antihistamines and or pain relievers, which you may not need and also have side effects. Work with your healthcare professional to develop a personalized treatment plan, including lifestyle changes and sleep habits to address your insomnia or other sleep problems over the long term. So we can see that the lecture here, it disagrees with the first point in the reading, right? And you can, if you have your notes down, you can see that. Okay, let's go to the next one. Second of all, sleep medication should not be used with alcohol or other drugs. Sleep aids should also not be taken before driving or operating machinery or before taking a bath or shower, among other things. Now, those ideas are not that important. The important thing is, don't take them to try to get to sleep. It says, always follow your healthcare professional's instructions about how to take, when to take, and how long to take sleep aids. Some people feel that alcohol is a sleep aid on its own. However, while alcohol may calm you and speed the onset of sleep, it actually increases the number of times you awaken during the night. Now, we can see that alcohol, according to the lecture, is not a good sleep aid. And again, the lecture keeps reinforcing the point that it's important to talk to a healthcare professional, which the reading passage disagrees with. Okay, here's our third point. Finally, when taken as prescribed, sleep aids can safely and effectively treat insomnia. There is a lower risk for dependency and tolerance with the newer prescription sleep aids compared to traditional benzodiazepines. People with a history of addiction, alcohol, or drug abuse are at an increased risk of dependence from sleep aids. Be sure to inform your healthcare professional of any previous dependence problems. Then the conclusion. As with all medications, it is important to take sleep aids only as directed by a healthcare professional. This means following his or her instructions about how to take, when to take, and how long to take sleep medicine. Sleep aids should not be taken with alcohol before driving or operating machinery or before taking a bath or shower, among other things. Be sure you're able to devote 7 to 8 hours to sleep before being active again. Okay, now the next thing is, let's take a look at a student's response to this assignment. Now, I'm going to put the student right now, we'll read it. I think this person has a pretty good response here. I'm going to score about 4.0 out of 5, or 25 points out of 30. This is probably where this person is going to score right now. Now, if you disagree with this score at YouTube, by all means, make a comment. Explain why you think it should score higher or lower. No problem. All right? So let's take a look at the introduction. Now, as I go, I will make some corrections. All right, so let's take a look. So, the reading passage explains 3 facts about sleep aids, and the listening passage challenges the statements listed in the reading. I might put here, reading passage. Firstly, according to the reading, if people have trouble, you can just say sleeping. And because you have people here, you want to say they. They can buy some medicine. And I would probably change this to over-the-counter medicine. Maybe put OTC. I think that's a little more specific. So over-the-counter medicine. In a store instead of going out to see a doctor. Now, if you look at the reading passage for just a second, let's go back here, just double check a quick point. So the reading is saying, okay, so, yeah, over-the-counter medicines are safer than, this is what needs to be put in there to make it a little bit clearer. It's safer than prescription sleep aids. I would put that in there to be a little more precise. Then you might say this. I would probably say that. Make sure we know where it's all coming from. Over-the-counter medicine, according to the reading passage, is safer than prescription sleep aids. On the contrary, the professor argues in the listening that it is necessary for us to see a doctor if you say us, then you have to say we, but you want to make it more of an academic type summary here. So it's safer for people to see a doctor if they have trouble sleeping. You might say for more than a month. The doctor will help them to make a personal plan, such as changing the sleep habits to solve the problems. So it's mostly complete. I think the person has a fairly good understanding. Now here's the thing that I like here with this. The writer, you can see here, about half of the paragraph talks about some important points in the reading passage, and then you have about half of the paragraph is discussing the points from the lecture. So the writer is doing what I call integrating. The writer is integrating the first point from the reading along with the first point from the lecture. Okay, let's keep going. Secondly, in the article, the author states that alcohol and wine can help How about this? I'm going to say insomniacs on this one, because that refers to a person who has trouble going to sleep. And so alcohol and wine can help insomniacs go to sleep quickly sometimes, which conflicts with the view proposed in the lecture that sleep medication should not be used with alcohol or drugs. This idea I don't think is really that important. I mean, it says it, but it doesn't really disagree with anything in the reading. But let's just double check something one time. So if we go back to the reading, so it says, sometimes having a little alcohol with your or wine with your sleep aid will help you go to sleep faster. And then the lecture doesn't like that at all. it says, when taken as prescribed, we have, it says sleep medication should not be used with alcohol or other drugs. They should also not be taken. Okay, so I think the writer's in pretty good shape there. If you want to mention this, I'm going to change this to sleep aids should not be taken. I'm going to put when driving, it's not opening, it's operating. Machines, or even, let's have parallel structure here, or even taking a bath. Maybe a transition word in here. Furthermore, the speaker encourages I think that's right. Who knows? Let me double check. I'm not sure how to spell this. Let's go to Google for just a quick second. Make sure I'm spelling it correctly. I think I got it. Let's take that. Okay, let's go back here. Got it. That was close. Just put it up here one more time. So we're doing I recommend when you're doing the integrated writing, don't use these personal pronouns, things like I or you or we. I think they's okay, but I think some of the pronouns you're using are a little bit too personal. Furthermore, the speaker encouraged insomniacs to ask their doctors about how to take the sleep aids. Keep it parallel, when to take them and how long to take them. Now, if you look at it, drinking alcohol may increase the number of times that people may wake up during the night. But I think this has to be connected back to show how it's different from the reading, right? So let's look at what it says here. So it says, alcohol may calm you and speed the onset of sleep. It actually increases the number of times you awaken during the night. And that's different from the reading, right? So let's just say, you might say to further contradict the reading passage. The lecture claims that drinking alcohol may increase the number of times that people may wake up during not the midnight, just during the night. Okay, then we have the last one. Finally, the writer discusses in the passage that let's use this word again. That insomniacs, I'm going to use the word should, that creates a little bit better tone, should only use sleep aids as a last resort because that refers to sleep aids, because they are not safe. Let's say, and because these medications will cause, maybe let's say, addiction, and dependency. All right, let's double check, make sure we have the information here. So, okay, so it says here, many sleep aids are not safe and are addictive or cause dependency. That's it. I think we have that. Conversely, and I like that word, that's a great word here. Let's begin it with a new sentence. You can use a semicolon, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and give you a new sentence here. Conversely, the speaker refutes you might say in the reading passage by claiming that it is okay, so let's finish it up here. So finally, the writer discusses in the passage that insomniacs should only use the sleep aids as a last resort because they're not safe and because these medications will cause addiction and dependency. But I think we have to make a distinction here. The prescribed sleep aids, I think it's better to say, because remember you have two kinds. You have over-the-counter sleep medications and you have prescribed medications. So I think it's good for your audience to distinguish between these. Should only use the prescribed sleep aids as a last resort because they are, you can put here, are not safe, and because these medications will cause addiction and dependency. Conversely, the speaker refutes this claim in the reading passage by claiming that if you want to say this, so conversely, the speaker in the listening passage refutes this claim we already said claim, so A, arguing that it is that the newer, I think this is important here, the newer sleep aids are less addictive than the older ones. I think that's kind of something you can say. To make it a little bit more formal here, let's change this. However, the lecture asserts However, the lecture asserts that prescribed sleep aids only be taken at the direction of a health So it should only be taken at the direction of a healthcare professional. You don't really need this part here. It kind of says the same thing here, so I think we're good. In conclusion, based on the discussions demonstrated above, we can clearly see we don't have to say that. We can just say the points made in the lecture differ from those made in reading passage. So I actually have to go back and revise my score a little bit. So I gave it originally a 4.0 out of 5, or 25 points out of 30. However, let me take a look at the rubrics. I use these rubrics for my students online. I adapted them from the TOEFL rubrics. I don't know, if you look at 4 or higher, it says, finally, your essay has more frequent or noticeable minor language errors, but these errors do not result in anything more than the occasional lapse of clarity or in connection of ideas. However, you have minor omission, inaccuracy, vagueness, or incorrectness of some of the content from the lecture in connection to some points made in the reading. It's very close. You have this one. You have incomplete, inaccurate, or imprecise connection of ideas. Now, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it where it is. If anybody disagrees with me at YouTube, you can certainly express your disagreement by making a comment. But the writer generally was able to connect, I think, the information and explain how the different points in the reading passage were different from the points in the lecture. So let's go through it one more time now. One thing that you will notice, as I did my error correction, I eliminated a lot of the personal pronouns that you were using so that you were writing in a more formal perspective here. So, let's see, the reading passage explains 3 facts about sleep aids, and the listening passage challenges the statements listed in the reading passage. Firstly, according to the reading passage, if people have trouble sleeping, they can buy some over-the-counter medicine in a store instead of going out to see a doctor. Over-the-counter medicine, according to the reading passage, is safer than prescription sleep aids. On the contrary, the professor argues in the listening passage that it is necessary for people to see a doctor if they have trouble sleeping for more than a month. The doctor will help them to make a personal plan, such as changing the sleep habits to solve the problems. Secondly, in the article, the author states that alcohol and wine can help insomniacs go to sleep quickly sometimes, which conflicts with the view proposed in the lecture that sleep medication should not be used with alcohol or drugs. In addition, the lecture warns that if sleep aids I don't think we need that, am I right? So the lecture warns that sleep aids should not be taken when driving, operating machines, or even taking a bath. Furthermore, the speaker encourages insomniacs to ask their doctors about how to take the sleep aids, when to take them, and how long to take them. To further contradict the reading passage, the lecture claims that drinking alcohol may increase the number of times the lecture claims that drinking alcohol may increase the number of times that people may wake up during the night. Finally, the writer discusses in the passage that insomniacs should only use the prescribed sleep aids as a last resort because they're not safe and because these medications will cause addiction and dependency. Conversely, the speaker in the listening passage refutes this claim, arguing that the newer sleep aids are less addictive than the older ones. However, the lecture asserts that prescribed sleep aids should only be taken at the direction of a healthcare professional. In conclusion, based on the discussions demonstrated above, the points made in the lecture differ from those made in the reading. And that's it. Now, what does this look like when it's not, right now I have it 20-point font, but let's make it normal font so you can kind of see what it looks like. You might say, man, this is too long, but not really. Check this out. It isn't that bad. This is kind of what it looks like if you make it all 20-point font. You see, you have a very short introduction. The whole purpose of the intro is simply to explain the main point of the reading and the listening passages without even being too detailed. And then in the next paragraph, the writer talks about reading point number 1 with listening point number 1. In the next paragraph, the writer talks about reading point number 2 with listening point number 2 and shows how the listening is different from that. And then in the next paragraph, the writer talks about reading point 3 along with listening point 3. And then a very short introduction here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 paragraphs. All right, and the score that I gave the student is about 4.0 out of 5 or 25 points out of 30. And that's it. Now, if anybody watching the video, if you guys are interested, I have a great online course. I will be more than happy to score any of your integrated writing practice tests. My basic thing is I have a rule: when you join my online course, you can only post 1 practice test each day. And guess what? In about 24 hours, I will score that one. Then you can do another one. So I do like to give my students a lot of feedback. My goal is to help them improve their writing, their speaking, and all the other areas important to their academic English language abilities.